Hello, welcome back. I'm Jeff Byers. This is ANI 235 Module 8, and this is part 4 of our video series. We just got done talking about how to set up a regular UV tile. Now we're going to talk about how you would use UDIM tiles. Okay? So everything basically goes out the window as far as resolution goes, meaning that we still want the same tile density. So what we'll do is we'll take the largest item, okay, and let's go ahead and do the UV shell here, and try to fit it in to the largest area. So we have two of these. Let's go ahead and try to fit that in there. And basically that's how we're going to get the rest of these figured out. So what I'm going to do now is, once I get one completely figured out, as far as we can make changes too. As far as the size goes, we need to go into the textile density, which is right here. Again, under transform at the bottom, let's go ahead and you can see that we went from 3.7 to 5.7, which gives us a lot higher resolution for that particular object, okay, or that UV map. Okay. So I'm going to click on this other guy right here and go ahead and set. Click on set, and then I'm going to move that in. And you can see that that looks pretty good. So I really don't want to put them in the UDIM tiles. So how the UDIM tiles work is we go from left to right. And so this is UV 1001, and then this would be 1002. 1003, and so on and so forth until we get to 1010, which is 1010, and then it goes back to 1011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and it can go all the way up forever, basically. I think you can have as many as you want. Of course, you will run out of memory by that time. Okay. Alright, so this is one thing. The only drawback that I can think of is that UDIM tiling takes up space on your hard drive, because how it works is that it takes the one UV map 4096 in a game engine, and what it does is it looks at that one UV tile, but then it searches for the rest of them from your hard drive. It's looking for those, and it's basically instancing. I bet that's the best way that I can think of describing it. It instancing those images that you have on your hard drive and captures that. And so that causes you can have a lot higher resolution, and you don't really have to worry about UV texture space. You still want to fit these things and get these as big as you possibly can for the highest resolution possible. But this allows me to take my head and go in here and go ahead and set that, and go ahead and almost fill that whole entire space up. Of course, I want to get my ears in here as well, and I want to separate those a little bit like this. And then go ahead and set the UVs for these. There we go. You can see I can get a lot bigger resolution. Now, could I get more out of the head? I probably could. And sometimes you do that. Let's go ahead and go all the way down and get these things set up. Let's do the torso and the arms. That makes sense. I don't want to totally waste everything. Okay. Since this is an example. It's not a great example of how do you utilize UDIM tiles, because basically the texture map of a human body, you've got all one material. What I was talking about earlier is better. It's better explained when I take apart the headset, the futuristic headset that I have for a character that I built, and I show you how to UV map those, and I use UDIM tiles, but it's a better explanation of how you would use the UDIM tiles as a material ID, because all the texturing is basically going to be uniform of one material. Or it could be that your face is separate materials, but these will be considered separate materials. And it depends on how you want to lay out the materials, meaning that, let's say I've got several pieces of a car. So let's say the car body is in here. Well, that would be the paint material. Okay, anything that would be a paint material. Then the bumpers, let's say the bumpers, it's an older car, and the bumpers are chrome. So I would put the bumpers in this tile and designate this as that particular type of chrome. And then in here you'll have maybe the seats. You would have all the seats laid out. And this would be a separate material called leather. And then you have this material over here, this material tile would be wood. Let's say it's a really old car and we have wood trim inside. And so all the trim work would be wood, and that would be the wood material. So you can see what I'm talking about when you can use the UDIM tiles as materials, different materials. And so let's just go ahead and take the rest of these and place them into this right here. And you guys can lay this out any way you like. This is just an example of what you could do. It's not an example of what you should do. It's just an example of what you could do. And I'm leaving it up to you whether you want to do that, use UDIM tiles or not. You can use the regular UVs, which would just fit in within that 0 to 1. But I want to show you how to do this in case you want to go through this. And you can watch my other tutorial as well on the headset. So those work out really well too. Okay, so again, it doesn't seem like this is efficient. And I'm not too worried about it being super efficient because I'm using UDIM tiles now, and you can waste more space. I mean, I don't like it, but it's just how it is. How big could I go with these? I'd have to reverse this one or just rotate this to get more space out of it, like that. It doesn't matter in Substance Painter. If I put a skin material on here, whether it's upside down or not, it doesn't really recognize that. I'm going to go ahead and get this, and then I was able to get to 6.1397, so that's the best I can do. Let me set that one and place that there. And of course I could probably go a little bit bigger, but that really helps with my head, because then I can go ahead and select everything in here and set that, and that will give you some more space to play with. And then I'm going to select all these guys and go ahead and set those and make sure that this could be a problem. I'd have to go in here and what do you want to say, to repack it. Let's go ahead and repack this. There we go. I could pack this because I think Maya remembers. So I could take this and let Maya pack it. I'm not too worried about that. Let's go ahead and do that. Just save some time here. Normally I would not do this, but I'm going to save some time and get that packed. And let's move that back over here. Now you can see that if I go in here and move this out and move this out and click on this and I go to set, I may not be able to get anything else in here. Okay, so what I would do then at that point is give myself more room, okay, which is great. So I would take all of this right here, there we go, move that over in this one, and just not try to pack everything in that one, and just let that part, the upper body, be part of itself. And what we're going to do in here now is just spread these out a little bit because they're way too close together. And there we go, just kind of spread these out a little bit. Okay, because we will scale them up a little bit more. Alright, so let's select all these and go ahead and set. Okay, those got a lot bigger. And what I'll do is I'll select all these and go ahead and see if it'll pack these properly. Yeah, there you go. And so that made them a lot bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go in here and go ahead and set that again, and that should make them a little bit smaller. There we go. And there is our pack for this one. You can see how easy that was. Again, this is a skin material. I would never do this. I would pack this myself. I would never let Maya do this. But for purposes of getting this video done quickly, okay, that's why I did that. So the resolution is still good, and this is how I would pack, you know, loosely pack this. So let's see, how did I get that back in there? There we go. I don't know why it moved. Alright, so now we're going to go in here and click on the checkerboard and double check everything. You can see that we got a lot smaller checkerboard, and it looks really good. It's consistent, and that's what I'm talking about. The square size is consistent throughout the whole entire body, and that's what you're looking for when it comes to resolution on textile density. Okay, so you need to do that with your clothes as well. If your textile density of your arms is this small, or this whether you want to call it small or large, it's actually a larger number, but the cubes are smaller. If you have cubes that are really big on your jacket, then you need to rethink your textile density size. Okay, because everything, the face textile density needs to be the same as your coat, your jacket, as your pants, as your shoes. So that's why it's so important. That's why I'm showing you the UDIM tiles, because you have more freedom to go ahead and UV map, you know, like this. Okay, so how does this all work then? So the idea is that we have 4 UDIM tiles. So to save this, you're going to go into this guy right here. And what I would also set up is I would go into modify, into layout, and we're just going to set this up here. Everything else is set up okay, except for right here, tiles across, U. So this is U going across, the V is up and down. So U across is 4. So I'm going to type in 4. Okay, there we go. Now don't forget you do this, because you don't want to click on layout UVs, you just want to close it. Okay, you don't want to hit enter or anything like that, because what will happen is that it's going to lay out those UVs for you again, and you don't want that. You want to pack it yourself. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the snapshot right here. Okay, but first we need to make sure the object is in object mode, so it needs to turn green. That's super important. So now we're going to go click on snapshot. We want 4096 by 4096. We want the area UV U and V tiles. It won't work if you don't do this. So 4. So I count across this way, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4, and so we place 4 in here. What file format do you want? I'm going to do PNG and browse. Now understand though that Target is for gaming. So if you need to save something out for gaming, you want to make sure you save a Targa file. You can see already that I've got another like a dagger. I got a dagger in here, and you can see this is what it looks like. 1001, that's your texture tile, and then you see 1002, that's the second texture tile, you see, and I've grouped these up in materials. Okay, so with that said, let me go into my documents real quick, Maya, and find my project. I think this is the one. No, module 6 right here. And then I want it to go into source images. Okay, so I'm going to close this. So I told it where I want it to go. Okay, it's going to be a PNG. And go ahead and apply and close. So it's going to go ahead and apply that UV map that you see here. And these will basically what these look like is they're black background with white UVs. You can see it just looks like the outline of this, you know, looks like just like this, except the background is black and this is white. And if you use Substance Painter, it doesn't really matter what the color is because Substance Painter will read that. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I do before I do anything is I want to go into the model. Okay, this is really important. Now I've already done this, unfortunately, with my clothes. So let's take a look. So here's my shirt. Oh, let's go ahead and go Control 1. There we go. And so you can see that I'm pretty low poly with the face. So once I UV mapped it, and what you're going to want to do is I went kind of backwards with the body because, and the reason why I did that is because the resolution in the body is really organic. Okay, so when I hit the 3 key, it doesn't really do much, right? But if I have a low poly shirt, and I've already done this with this shirt, I had a really low poly shirt, and what you want to do is you want to smooth it at 1, the iterations at 1. Okay, so with the body, I'm going to isolate that real quick. All right, so with a body, and you have edge loops. Okay, the body looks pretty good. It's very organic, so it's not going to cave in on itself. I'm going to hit the 3 key again. You can see the difference. There we go. See how it goes back. I'm going to go back to 1 again. You can see how it looks. Alright, so not much change there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control D, D as in David, duplicate, click on this layer here, double click on it, and just say this is the original low poly. I always want to keep a low poly if I need to come back to it. Okay? And so with texturing, we want to smooth it at 1. Okay. Now usually we do this beforehand. Okay. Usually do this beforehand. So let me go back into the UV editor. Okay. For some reason it's acting crazy. Let's go back and bring this back. It's huge. Here we go. Okay, so with all that, I don't really need that anymore, but we'll keep it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically hold down the spacebar, go to Mesh, and then Smooth. Okay. Now normally you will smooth a character. You're just going to smooth it at 1. You're going to smooth everything at 1, but you're going to duplicate it first. You're going to duplicate it. So if you have an asset that looks like a sock, that looks like a shirt, that looks like a pair of pants, or your hair, you're going to do subdivision level at 1. Okay. Now if you don't, and you have any harsh edges, it will be a problem. Now with the character, there's really no harsh edges except for the inside of the eye. So when I do 1, okay, let's go Control 1, and where's my backup here? Here's my body. There it is. Okay. So there it is. Let's hit the 5 key. And it's got kind of a weird color, right? Right, so let's go back in here and give it a assign new material. Let's give it a AI standard surface. There we go, that fixed that. You can see that that looks more like the shirt. Okay? So you can see that after I low poly modeled the shirt, I went ahead and smoothed it at 1, and you're gonna have to do that for all the stuff that you did. Okay, now this one I hadn't smoothed yet. Okay, so I'll do that. But you know, at this point, you always want to duplicate it first and then smooth it. The shoe I've already smoothed it once. So there's some things I smoothed and some things I haven't smoothed. Okay. Alright, so the hair I can smooth if I want to. Now the problem is with the hair, if I hit the 3 key, that's not too bad. That doesn't look too bad. But I can, and you have to duplicate it first again, right? So you want to do that. So you want to click the hair and then Control D, put in it in a layer, and call that the original hair. You always want to do that with all the stuff you do. There you go. Okay. And then I can go in here and do mesh and then smooth at iterations of 1, so subdivision levels at 1. There we go. That just gives it a nicer look. And you do that with your clothes. You want to subdivide it. Excuse me. You want to give it a subdivision of 1. So we'll do Control D on the pants and redo that one. Right. Alright, so pants smooth. Let's get rid of the pants here. Put the pants back on again, and we'll do mesh smooth. We've already got it set at 1. So now what I can do is now I'm going to go in here and texture these. Lay out the UVs for that. So if you have any assets, let's say I do a really quick cube here. Right, and let's say I do some edge work. I'm going to do a really quick bevel here, cheat really quick. Where are you, bevel? There it is. Alright, so say I do a 0.5 and do resolution at 4. Right, so there's my bevel. Let's see, there's my low poly, and I'm going to do Control D and duplicate that over. Okay, so you always keep your low poly, okay, and then with your high poly, with your other piece that you're going to UV map, this is your hard surface model, then you go to smooth, and so that's what that looks like. Now if you don't do this, your textures will bleed into each other. So I would never. Now this actually works pretty well, but there are some circumstances that won't work very well. But you always want to smooth it at 1 division if it's a hard surface model, so you can keep the edges and they don't bleed over. And you subdivide, and then what you do is you just forget about your low poly, put it in a layer, and come back to it if you need to make changes. But then this is the one you UV map. Okay, that's the one you're going to UV map. Now the reason why I waited for the characters, because everything's round and organic shaped, and it won't hurt anything. In fact, when I go back into my UV map, let's take a look at it now. Close that a minute. There it is. The UVs are still there, and they look exactly the same. No change. Okay, so the smoothing didn't hurt them. So it's easier for me to UV map it, and that works out better for me. But you can only do that for really round organic shapes. When you get into something that's hard surface, you know, like your headphones or a car, you'd have to duplicate it and then smooth it at 1 and then UV map it. Okay, just want to make that clear. So everybody's going to have challenges when you UV map your stuff, but you can look at what I did with this and refer back to the videos if you get stuck on how to UV map stuff. And I highly recommend that you UV map your shirt with the same exact precision you did with the arms. So you can see that here's a natural seam right here, and I would highly recommend to cut a seam there, cut a seam right where the underneath of the collar, on the outside of the collar. You'll have to cut the shirt in the back all the way down, right? And then you'll have to make cuts along the edge here. You'll have to make a cut here and have to make a cut underneath there. Okay? Same as the pants. Okay? So most of you guys have some UV mapping experience. If you need more help, I'm happy to make sure I put those videos up for the headphones asset, and you guys can practice on that if you want to. All right, I will, good luck on the rest of the, just basically you're just UV mapping everything, everything that you have. You're just basically UV mapping everything. You're not texturing yet, and everything needs to be smoothed at 1. Everything needs to be smooth at 1, and you need to duplicate anything that you want to go back to. Okay? Alright. And then when that's done, we're going to move on to module 9, which is texturing the upper body and then texturing the lower body. Alright, you guys have a great week and good luck with this, and it's not too tough. You'll need to give me 2 renders, front and back perspective, front and back wireframe, and that's it, I believe, and then you move on. I don't think I need to do that. I think you guys know how to do that now. You can use the same lighting as you did with the other, the upper body and the lower body, so use the same thing. And I would highly recommend if you guys could add blends, or not blends, but AI standard surface material, so material that kind of looks like what you're going to do, so what you're going to use, and so and then give them a color. I would appreciate that. So we want to add a color, and we can easily do that by going in here. Let's say this is going to be a kind of a pinkish top. So go into pink. Okay. That's more purple. And then her pants, would give it a different color, assign a new material. And this will make it a little easier to see your different types of materials you're thinking about using. And so let's say her pants are blue. So we'll go into blue jeans or something like that. Okay, you get the idea. And so you add colors, and then give her a skin tone, and then her hair, whatever color her hair is going to be, and her color of her shoes, or whatever you end up having for footwear. And then your buttons and all that stuff need to be colored too as well. So just kind of color code it, if you will, and then render it out. Alright, again, watch the video for the headphones if you want to know how to go ahead and UV map a hard surface model. Alright, talk to you later.